Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Senior U.S. officials are in Mexico, pressing their counterparts to help drive down border crossings. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Carroll, in for Maya Trabulsi. This all comes as President Biden faces increased pressure over his handling of the southern border. Ivan Rodriguez reports on the ways Homeland Security officials believe Mexico can help.
Senior U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, are meeting with Mexico's president and security cabinet today. The goal, to try and stem the unprecedented surge of people trying to cross the U.S. southern border. The mayor of Eagle Pass, Texas, says his community is overwhelmed.
Our city here in Eagle Pass, we've been getting slammed with 2,000 to 3,000 people a day, and it's just an unfair, unethical situation. What's going on here in Eagle Pass, we feel ignored by the federal government.
During their meeting, U.S. officials are expected to bring up a number of requests, including moving migrants south, controlling the railways that are used by migrants to move north, and providing incentives to not journey to the border, like visas, so migrants can remain in Mexico.
What we are seeing is an influx at the border that right now, for our nonprofit organizations, our churches, other humanitarian efforts that are taking place outside of the scope of the federal government, that those folks are truly overwhelmed.
Right now, roughly 11,000 migrants are waiting in shelters and camps on the Mexican side of the border to get into the U.S., according to community leaders. They say many of those migrants are hoping to enter the U.S. through legal pathways. Ivan Rodriguez, KPBS News.
President Biden spoke to Mexico's president about the border crisis last week. During the call, the two leaders agreed that additional enforcement actions were urgently needed so key ports of entry could be reopened. They've been temporarily closed to redirect personnel to help process migrants.
It's been a relatively comfortable stretch, but I tell you what, it is the wet season across the West Coast, and that means inevitably more Pacific storms on the way. On that note, we are looking at not just an increase in cloud cover, but even some showers and pockets of heavy rain on the way as well. We're going to talk more about that coming up.
A century-long tradition that started as a bird hunt now helps track valuable bird sightings. The Christmas bird count put on by the National Audubon Society covers the entire country. KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne says the next birding events are being held in the North County.
College football fans are downtown today for tonight's Holiday Bowl, featuring the USC Trojans and Louisville Cardinals, who are ranked 15th in the nation. For the second year, the game is being played at Petco Park, home of the San Diego Padres. Fans say Petco's location offers a unique bit of excitement for the game.
You know, it's an interesting venue. You know, it is downtown, and there's a lot to do downtown where it's not as developed yet in Mission Valley.
Fans lined Harbor Drive Wednesday morning for the Holiday Bowl parade, featuring both universities' marching bands. Barry Francis from the E. Clampus Vitus Historical Group was part of the parade. He says he thinks Louisville will take the game.
I think it's going to be Louisville this year. I just got a feeling. I don't think SC's got a great band, though. I'll give him that.
Juan Lira of the Originales Car Club drove his 1938 Buick Special in the parade. He says while he's rooting for the more local of the two teams, he prefers another type of football.
I'm neutral. I'm more like a football, soccer.
The Louisville Cardinals are 15th in the college football playoff rankings and are favored against an unranked USC Trojan team that finished with just 7 wins after starting the season 6-0. Key players for both the Cardinals and Trojans have opted out of playing, either to enter the transfer portal or the NFL draft, including last year's Heisman winner, USC quarterback Caleb Williams. It's the first time the Trojan and Cardinal football teams have played each other. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
Sorry about that. Obviously, that was Andrew Dyer reporting on the parade at the Embarcadero today. But now let's go to a century-long tradition that started as a bird hunt, now helps track valuable bird sightings. The Christmas bird count put on by the National Audubon Society covers the entire country. KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne says the next birding events are being held in the North County.
A holiday tradition that started as a hunt evolved into a count that is still going strong 124 years later.
The Christmas bird count started around 1900 as an alternative for the Christmas bird hunt, where people would just basically go out and shoot birds in teams and see how many birds they could kill. And so members of the Audubon Society decided to start an alternative called the Christmas bird count.
Rather than hunting the birds, people around the country would go out and count them.
There's a 3-week window of time where the Christmas bird count needs to happen, and that's to maintain the scientific integrity of the program. And so San Diego is a very large Christmas bird count with a lot of participants.
Patty Langen is the compiler for the count happening this Friday in Oceanside.
Groups go out into their assigned section and they try to see how many birds they can find in the 24-hour period.
Langen says there are options for early morning birders and for people interested in owling, which means going out before dawn searching for owl species. And the data collected from the count helps track bird activity and migration.
Scientists will use this data to help track bird populations and the health of bird populations over time. So in addition to being just a fun hobby, it's great. The birds are always amazing. It also is good to know that you're contributing to science.
Langen says no birding experience is needed, and anyone is welcome to join the counts coming up in North County.
We have opportunities for every level of birding experience. So we have some of our more experienced leaders have been biologists, are biologists, and we have people who are just brand new to birding who are helping us out.
People interested in participating in the Christmas bird counts should get in touch with the event's compiler ahead of the event. Escondido also has a count on Saturday, and Rancho Santa Fe's bird count will happen on January 5th. More information can be found on our website. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Earlier this year, the San Diego Opera lost its longtime director of education, Nicholas Reveles. About a month after his death, the opera staged the world premiere of his work entitled Ghosts. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando brought us this story right before opening night.
Last summer, Nicholas Reveles was debuting one opera at San Diego International Fringe Festival and prepping another for a world premiere at San Diego Opera.
I'm very excited about that, to be produced by my home company, as well as, it's a big professional opera company in the United States, so I hope we'll get some notice for it.
And what delighted him even more was that the opera was in a genre he loved.
The horror is up front and center.
Blood and bile, blood and bile. I watched him heave, cough.
But last October, Reveles was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He died just 6 weeks before this Friday's world premiere of Ghosts, an evening of 3 one-act horror-inspired operas. But with a title like Ghosts, perhaps he knew he would be haunting the rehearsal hall.
Oh, undoubtedly. I mean, absolutely. We joke about it, it's in the text. We can say, oh, that's Nick right there for sure, that moment. Or it feels like somehow we're still exchanging ideas and asking for his blessing on the choices we make.
He gave me this beautiful crystal that I keep in my pocket or by my music stand, and every time I'm stuck, I'll just grab the crystal and hold it and flip it around in my hand, and all of a sudden the ideas will come to me. So Nick is definitely here with us, laughing, crying, getting very involved, and making sure that we're going to present an amazing premiere to commemorate him.
And then when it's over, total blackout. I mean, Nick would love this.
Back in December, Reveles was in hospice, but still working with director John de Los Santos.
I just told him, creepy, I want jump scares, I want everything a horror movie would have.
Reveles and de Los Santos bonded over some shared passions.
Well, Nick loved horror, and I love horror, but we also love opera. And I think that something that both horror and opera have in common is they elicit strong emotions, strong feelings.
I'm a great believer that you can approach anything through opera. I absolutely believe in the genre. I think when you sing things, the story, the drama is more heightened. It becomes more important. It becomes bigger, and I like the bigness of that.
That was Reveles from May last year. In December, the passion was still there, but cancer was taking a toll.
It is an opera in black and white. And when I think horror, I think black and white. And when I say that, I mean that the sound colors, the colors from the orchestra are even kind of black and white.
Maybe that's because when Reveles was 8 years old, his mother introduced him to James Whale's 1931 black and white film, Frankenstein.
And from then on, I was hooked on horror. I don't know what it is really, but there's something about the darkness and about being scared and about telling a story that might frighten people, even just a little bit, that I've always enjoyed.
De Los Santos enjoyed collaborating with Reveles to define the ghosts of the opera.
Ghosts are not figures in sheets. They are memories. They are regrets. They are unknown and unanswered questions that we have to confront.
Ghosts can be trauma, can be experiences, can be people who we aren't able to shed emotionally from our lives.
People like Reveles that we want to hold on to. Ghosts not only let San Diego Opera pay tribute to his memory, but it also provides General Director David Bennett with a perfect opportunity to offer audiences a detour from traditional opera.
That's why it's really an honor for us to produce this, because there's so much in this work that's unusual and unexpected, but there's also so much in it that is in many ways traditional.
Reveles expressed hope that the opera would have a future beyond this weekend, and Ghosts would be the perfect legacy for a man who devoted his life to being an ambassador for opera and whose heart always belonged to horror. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
The Fed appears to be ready to drop interest rates next year, giving first-time homebuyers hope that 2024 may be their best chance to finally get into the housing market. Cole Higgins has a look at what we can expect and tips if you're looking to buy.
After years of record prices, historically high mortgage rates, and massive market demand, some experts say sidelined first-time homebuyers could have more hope in 2024.
It's going to get cheaper going forward, but I'm not going to call it easy or less painful.
Economist Joe Brusuela says the Federal Reserve is poised to lower interest rates next year, which could make homes more affordable. According to the U.S. National Home Price Index released this week, house prices hit a new record high in October. That's when mortgage rates were above 7%, the highest levels in 23 years. That, plus historically low inventory, continued to push up home prices. So what can you do if you're looking to buy in 2024?
When you get back in the market, houses are going to come in. When there's a lot of demand, they're going to go fast. Somebody else is going to be ready to move. You want that person to be you.
Real estate investor David Green has these 4 tips. 1, improve your financial position to increase your chances of getting a better loan, like paying off debt, saving more money, and improving your credit. 2, step up your market research. Get realistic and consider what you can actually afford and what your priorities are.
You can change everything about a house except where it's located. So really prioritize the houses in the areas that work the best for you, not the houses that look the best.
3, once you get your loan approved, get your loan officer and your realtor working together. And finally, consider waiting until winter time. That's when home sales traditionally slow down, so there will be less competition. For Consumer Watch, I'm Cole Higgins.
Pizza Hut delivery drivers in California will soon be without jobs. The largest Pizza Hut franchises in the state say they'll lay off all delivery driver positions by the end of February, and that'll affect more than 1,200 employees. This comes before California's minimum wage jumps in April from $16 to $20 an hour. Customers will have to order carryout or use third-party apps to get their food delivered. Starting next week, a new state law prohibits most employers from punishing workers who use marijuana while off the clock. Assembly Bill 2188 was introduced in February 2022 as a way to regulate the drug testing methods employers use when making hiring decisions. But a certain group is not included under the bill's protections, that is, construction workers. Dominic Larson is a glass cutter. He says he likes the premise behind the marijuana anti-discrimination bill, but doesn't get why he can't partake.
I don't know how you can pick one group of people and still say it's okay to discriminate against them.
Larson says he'd like to hire an attorney to sue the state over it, but hasn't found one willing to take his case. Some people on whale-watching cruises have been treated to dramatic views recently of killer whales hunting off the San Diego coast. At least 2 pods of the mammals, native to tropical waters, have been roaming up and down the Southern California coast. KPBS Sci-Tech reporter Thomas Fudge tells us why the orcas made the trip.
Some of the hunting skills of killer whales have been on display over the past week or so, including this view off the coast of San Diego. Experts say it's no surprise to see these creatures so close to the coast.
Most killer whales tend to be closer to coast because that's where most of the food is. The ocean's more productive along coastlines on the continental shelf. So actually, if you're looking for killer whales in the ocean, along the coast is mostly where you want to be.
Bob Pittman spent most of his career working for NOAA Fisheries in La Jolla. Experts say the killer whales that Californians are seeing lately reside in the eastern tropical Pacific off Mexico and Central America. These killer whales are mammal specialists, which means they hunt dolphins, sea lions, and some whales. Pittman says these days there's more prey for orcas off the California coast.
We protect marine mammals now. After a couple centuries of whaling and indiscriminately killing marine mammals, we pass laws and we protect them now.
So numbers of dolphins and whales are increasing, and so are the killer whales.
When those animals were taken out of the ecosystem, their predators undoubtedly took a hit too, and their predators are probably increasing now alongside their numbers.
Killer whale became a common name for orcas, a member of the dolphin family, because they were known to attack and devour whales. Earlier this month, a fin whale was run aground and died on Pacific Beach. The evidence made it pretty clear what drove the whale onto the beach. NOAA biologists saw killer whale tooth marks on the body. Marine biologist Elisa Schulman-Janiger says orcas are called the wolves of the sea by the way they hunt whales.
Some will try to ram the whale. Some will try to grab onto the flippers and pull the whale down. Some will try to get on the head of the whale and use their body weight to push the head underwater so the whale can't breathe.
Both Schulman and Pittman belong to the academic world, but they have many connections with companies that offer whale-watching rides to tourists. Companies like Gone Whale Watching San Diego that provided some of the footage you've seen. Pittman says a recent paper he and Schulman collaborated on owed a lot to tourists, citizen scientists, and their smartphone cameras.
The majority of the data in that paper was posted on social media. You know, there are a lot more whale watching public out there than there are researchers.
Pittman says another academic paper, now under review, would separate killer whales into various species, depending on their diet. He adds that while mammal-eating killer whales are doing very well, the ones that specialize on eating fish are eating the same kind of fish that humans do, and they are doing less well. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
Several water contact closures and advisories are in effect for our county beaches. County health officials released an updated list today. The closures were issued due to bacteria levels exceeding health standards. They include Coronado, south of Avenida Lunar to North Beach, the Silver Strand, Imperial Beach, and Tijuana Slough. Advisories are in effect at La Jolla Children's Pool and La Jolla Cove, Ocean Beach, Dog Beach, and Mission Bay.
You know, not too bad over the next few days, but big changes on the way across Southern California. Here are your weather headlines. We stay dry through Friday, but then we turn cooler and wetter into the weekend. Showers stick around even into next week. And this time of year, I'll tell you, that's not abnormal. It's the season for some Pacific storms, and that's certainly what we're going to get. Now let's start with tonight. Things are pretty calm, pretty cool. 52 degrees in the metro area. We are looking at some areas of fog pretty late, so please be careful heading out the door. And remember, in terms of encountering some dense patchy fog on the roads, my friends, low beams, low speeds. That's the way to go. As we look a wider view here across your low temperatures tonight, Oceanside 47, Escondido looking at 44 degrees, El Cajon 48, a little bit cooler out to Mount Laguna, no surprise, 41 degrees, and finally heading further south toward Campo, looking at 39 degrees as we wake up tomorrow morning. Now, tomorrow afternoon, we warm up in a nice fashion. 60 in Campo, looking at 70 in El Cajon. Ramona looking at 69 degrees, and Escondido more of the same. Even San Diego 65 on the dot. Now that to me sounds pretty nice. I'm just saying, widespread sunshine as well. Now your 5-day outlook showing you some of that rain on the way. Check out the coastal area on Saturday and Sunday. A shower in spots on Saturday, but watch what happens on Sunday. Here comes the rain and the drizzle. Just a dreary stretch, even into Monday. Dull and dreary conditions with low-hanging clouds. Temperatures in the mid-60s. As we head inland, we're looking at a little more sunshine, but even Saturday, cooler, and we keep a shower around in the forecast. Temperatures in the low 60s on Saturday and Sunday as well. Now, more sunshine into the mountains, but even Monday, cloudy and cold. Look at the temperature, 36 degrees and low temperature of 27. That's quite the cool down from the upper 40s that we'll see on Thursday and Friday. Finally, let's head to the desert where the sunshine is a little bit more widespread. There's a shock. Hey, it's going to be beautiful though. Enjoy it. A shower in places on Saturday, but mostly looking at sunshine and temperatures in the 60s over the next 5 days. For KPBS News, I'm Christina Shalhoop.
Will one lucky customer close out 2023 a multimillionaire? The jackpot for tonight's Powerball drawing has grown to $700 million. No tickets were sold matching all 6 numbers in Monday's drawing, but one ticket matching 5 numbers, except the Powerball, was sold at a donut shop in Anaheim. The ticket was worth more than $2 million. That's not too shabby. Tonight's drawing is at 7:59 p.m. World Beat Cultural Center in Balboa Park has been sharing music, art, dance, and black culture since 1995. Last night, it kicked off a week of events celebrating Kwanzaa. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando previews what's ahead.
Sometimes you can judge a book by its cover. The art and beauty you find on the outside of World Beat Cultural Center can also be found on the inside and in everything the center does.
Hey, here you go.
Makita Cheatham is the 81 years young founder of World Beat Cultural Center, and she just kicked off a week of Kwanzaa events.
Oh man, I got so much going on here.
Kwanzaa is the annual holiday created in 1966 to help African Americans reconnect with their African cultural and historical heritage. Sharing that history and those cultural connections is something World Beat does all year long, so it provides the perfect place to celebrate.
And we're sending you all the love that you can handle. Happy Kwanzaa. Harambe, Harambe, Harambe. That means let's band together as a people, as a whole, all cultures. That's what we got to do. We got to come together. And that's what Kwanzaa gives us, 7 days, so we can come and reaffirm our love and commitment to each other and have imani, faith.
Kwanzaa is also closely tied to food and harvesting, which is essential to Cheatham. She grows the food she serves at World Beat and will be serving for Karamu.
Woo! The Karamu, that's the feast. And you gotta have the feast. In fact, I got a plate right here. Black-eyed peas, you've got potato salad, and look at those collard greens. Out of the garden, collard greens, you gotta have them. When you come here, You get to eat food from our garden. It's so important.
The food is phenomenal.
Monica Harris should know. For 12 years, her DevoWorks dance studio has been producing children's shows at World Beat as part of its Kwanzaa celebration.
One of the main things is I keep going back to the idea of oneness and unity and roots and culture, and that is the key and central value in Kwanzaa in terms of the African American community remembering its African roots. However, things like self-determination, things like cooperative economics, working together, these kinds of values, family, love, friendship, those are all parts of Kwanzaa.
She'll be finding those values tonight as her youth company stages a reimagining of the 1971 film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
You know, that story, whenever I mention it to anyone that we're producing it, the first thing we see is a smile.
World Beat's partnership with Harris reflects one of the key principles of Kwanzaa.
Ujima, collective work and responsibility, to work together. My mother used to bake a cake with no ingredients. She would go borrow from this lady, borrow from this house down here. That's collective work.
Another one of those principles will be highlighted on Friday.
Ujima, cooperative economics, having business together and sharing each other's, that's what we're doing here. We're gonna bring people in and share, you know, where to get your grants, how to do this, financial literacy, which is really important.
And Cheatham adds another important principle of Kwanzaa.
And then Nia, purpose. What is your purpose in life?
Cheatham's purpose is to provide a space to highlight Black culture as well as art, dance, music, and food. You can savor a free vegan meal every night through Sunday at World Beat as part of its Kwanzaa celebration. Plus, there'll be nightly ceremonial candle lighting as well as performers and guest speakers. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
So many reasons to love San Diego. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Previs Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.